Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Britton's Hangout Hour, episode 154. I'm here today with Sarah K. Balstrup. Did I get that right?
Yep, yep.
That's good. That's good. She has written some stuff such as The Way of Unity and Black Stream, which I think is part of the same series.
Yep, that is correct.
I unfortunately have not read these yet, but from what I've heard about them, they sound really interesting, so I'll have to pick it up at some point. But she's here today. How are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. I have been doing a bit of gardening and vegetable gardening over the weekend, so that's been my distraction from things. But yeah, writing wise, I'm working on the third book in the series, so I've been doing a bit of editing with that one. And editing is not the final stage with this particular book. I kind of do a patch of writing and then I do an edit, then I write again, then I do an edit. So it's sort of as it grows, I like to do these big editing sweeps. So that's where I'm at right now.
I've been editing what I've been working on for a while now. It's been hard though because I'm still doing college. I'm gonna be graduating in a few weeks, actually,
Oh wow!
which is it feels weird. I'm the first generation of my family who's graduated.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that happened in my family too. It's no one really had degrees, and then me and all my cousins were really studious and all went to university. But I think it's pretty different these days. There's a lot to do, and quite hard doing assessments with all this AI and stuff like that out there. I don't know what you're studying. What area are you studying?
I'm in journalism, so mass communications. So yeah,
Okay.
we've been with a minor in creative writing, which I kind of tacked on because I'm like, yeah, I like writing more or less, so I'll just do that, and that's been fun. So that's what all my
Mm,
classes this semester has been about.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I imagine journalism is a pretty tough gig when everyone wants to sort of create things with ChatGPT, and um, it's hard to know what's real and what's a good source. I definitely would not want to be doing that at this day and age, but I commend you for getting in there. We still need people who can report on things and comment on what's going on in the world. So
Yeah, I've learned a lot of things actually from my degree, such as doing this. I probably wouldn't be
mm,
doing this too as much if I didn't use any of the stuff I've learned from my journalism degree.
yeah, I mean, this is what 154. So how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for, oh god, 2 or 3 years now, probably 3 years. So I've been doing
Yeah,
this for a while. I started it before I started my iteration of my YouTube channel now, and I just kept going. And then once I joined YouTube BookTube, I'm like, oh, I have all these guests I can talk to. Okay, I'll tap on the vein, and here I am.
yeah. No, it's great. I don't know why it took me so long to discover BookTube. Just listening to people speak and things like that. But yeah, the past year I've been listening to it sort of daily. All the wonderful perspectives people have, and it's just so great to hear people really passionate about books and coming up with books you wouldn't even think to read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it is good.
Yeah, it's a nice community. It's
Mm,
I've never met anyone who's like mean, so that's good.
yeah, yeah,
I
that is
should
really
also
good.
ask: are you the same Sarah Balstrup on Goodreads who wrote Spiritual Sensations?
Yes, I am. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I did a religious studies major in in arts, and I ended up doing my PhD in religious studies. So it's that was pretty much my PhD thesis published as a book.
Mm.
And yeah, I've written some articles as well, but I kind of, if you're trying to become an academic, it's very much, you sort of have to sacrifice every minute of every day to that pursuit. And I just started a family, and you can't really do it part time. Like you have to do a lot, as with writing, just out of passion, and you don't get paid, sort of thing. So I ended up just switching to creative writing because I thought, at the end of the day, there's a bigger audience for fiction, and I can explore the same ideas in fiction as in academic writing. It's just that there's more people that can enjoy it, and I don't have to be so sort of, um, tied up with trying to get it into certain journals or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad I made that choice. I don't think I'd go back, but I do kind of miss, chatting about all the kind of interesting stuff that went into religious studies. So um, there's like religious studies, sort of comparative religion, so not theology. So you're sort of looking at all sorts of different things. I just think it's such a fascinating area, and window into human behavior and all that sort of thing. So
So I guess the inevitable question comes up: Are you of any religious or spiritual affiliation, or no? Because
look, I think I definitely am interested in a lot of religious ideas, but when it comes to being a part of a religion, I'm not necessarily a part of one religion, but I would consider myself spiritual. So I do meditate every day, and I do think about religious ideas and um, you know moral questions to do with faith and things like that regularly. Like, it is a part of my daily thinking, and definitely a part of my writing. But I do think it's hard to sort of become a part of a religious community if you didn't grow up in that environment. So in my family, there's a bit of, on my dad's side, some Catholic. Uh, there's a few people that went to church every week for mass and whatever. But
mm-hmm.
I just had no experience of that growing up. And my on my mum's side, everybody's kind of vaguely spiritual in some way. But again, the days of going to church every week were kind of my mum's grandparents' generation. So
Mm.
it's sort of like, it is a bit sad in a way. I think there's a real community element to like going to church and things like that. But I feel like I can't just rock up at some local church and, you know, it
You
just
should buy
doesn't
my
feel like
books.
it's good to me.
I said you should buy my books. Just walk to a
Yeah.
church.
But my husband, like his family, like his father was a minister, and his mum still goes to church every weekend. So there is this sort of general Christian influence. But if you look at all the denominations that form a part of this family, it's everything from like Catholicism to, there's a couple of evangelicals. There's Russian Orthodox. There's what else? Even back in the day, some Christian Science.
Yeah, there's
So
a
it's
Christian
just,
Science place not too far from where I live.
yeah. So that was my great grandmother, who I never met. But yeah, it's just somehow these ideas kind of flow through a little bit. But on top of that, I think my great aunt was very much into meditation, and she used to she'd have meditation classes in her house and things like that. So it wasn't hugely influential on me as a kid, because I don't think you really have any idea what any of that's for when you're young. But yeah, I've definitely found it to be something that like. I can't stop being interested in, and
Mm.
yeah. So, and I always find if I read books, like I have in my book reviews, I always have like a religious or existential kind of book tag, which is like if it has some sort of existential themes or religious concepts or something. And pretty much every book that I put in my favorites, I tick that box. So it seems to be,
So just like religion in general is interesting to you.
yeah, it's interesting to me, but I do think that, like on a personal level, yeah, I'm sort of more into the uh, sort of open-minded approaches to religion where people are trying to kind of find their place in the world and all that sort of thing, rather than very dogmatic um, religious beliefs. And like I do uh, understand that, like, people growing up in different cultures and environments, like, your reality is what you're born into, and you make sense of things from that position. So, like, I do understand that people have other ways of looking at things. I don't feel I need to um, sort of push my views on other people, but yeah, I really like it when I can connect with other people that find these ideas interesting as well.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Christian, and I still attend church with my grandmother.
Mm.
But I don't know if I'd consider myself religious in like a traditional way. So,
Yeah,
because
well, it's hard to
I
figure out what it means.
it's kind of yeah, it's kind of there's an old saying like if you're raised in it, it never like really leaves you.
Mm.
It's kind of in my case.
Yeah,
Though my parents are like, "Oh, do you want to see, Christmas is going to be in a month." I can't believe it already. Uh,
yeah.
Now they used to just like we're going, and now they're just like, "Oh, do you want to go to the Christmas Eve service?" And sometimes I'll say yes, and sometimes I'll say no. So we're
Yeah.
at that part of my my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Christmas is always a big hoo-ha, I think. Lot of family to get together. Yeah, now that, like, a lot of the people in my family are all having kids. So yeah, it used to be a bunch of adults sitting around a table being really civilized, and now it's just complete mayhem. And
Little munchkins running around.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I remember. Uh, I don't know if I'm actually going to church tomorrow. My grandma was probably going to call me in a little bit, but I
Mm.
yeah, I don't know how I'd describe my spiritual beliefs then, because
Yeah, look, I think sometimes
I
it's
think my
just
family think I'm like an atheist or something, even though I'm not. And then my like more
mm,
hardline secular friends are like, "Dude, are you Christian?" Like I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I
yeah.
am. It's like I get real
Yeah, I
defensive with
mean,
Christianity.
it's just like, I think I want to be a good person. Like, if a lot of people out there can be focused on all kinds of stuff, but I find I get on best with people who, like, care about about others and all this sort of thing. And there are a lot of people who are not a part of any religion. It's, whatever, but they do have a strongly developed kind of I don't know, care for others. And I think that is at the heart of it. It's like, if your religion somehow makes you not care about other people, then something's gone wrong along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't really, it's hard to put labels on things. And I read George Eliot's Middlemarch recently, which is a little bit random. I read
I
a
had a
lot of
friend
fantasy.
who read
And
that not too long ago, and he liked it.
yeah, it's
I sometimes hesitate with classics, even though I grew up reading
yeah.
classics, so it's kind of weird. I don't know.
Look, I just read The White Luck Warrior by R. Scott Baker.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was just like, it was brilliant, but it was so freaking dark. And I just felt like this heavy cloud on me basically at the end of reading that book. And I just thought, I just want to read something where everyone is nice and like nothing horrific is going to happen. And I just picked it up,
So
randomly
does anything
and
like
started
bad or
reading it.
horrific happen in Middlemarch?
No, but it it's a long book, so
I was about to
it
say
it's
I don't know if I'd say it's a feel good book, but I haven't heard too much about it, so I don't know.
it's not really a feel good book, but it has this character who's Dorothea, so she's very pious and very self sacrificing and all this kind of thing, and you spend half the book thinking, God, she's really devaluing herself. Like she marries this old guy because he's going to write a book, and she's going to be there to support his great intellectual ambition, and basically just wait on him. And it doesn't really turn out as she would have liked. And you're sort of thinking, okay, is this a cautionary tale about um, giving up too much of yourself or something like that? But it ends up just bringing together all these different people in this town, and telling the intricate details of all of their lives. And by the end of it, you just see how no one can be separated from anybody else's life. It's like you fill your head with all this complicated information and gossip and whatever about these characters, and you're wondering where it's going, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like they're all together in this tapestry, and if you pull one thread, just everything kind of falls apart. And I think that's kind of the magic of the book, by the time you get to the end. But um, there is this line in the book about religion where Dorothy is asking this other character, saying, what is your religion? And then she says, um, don't tell me about what your official religion is. Like, what is the belief that's helped you most in your life? And it comes down to that. It's like she just has this one kind of thought, which is about just making the world better, in whatever way she can. And then the other character says something about, pursuing beauty in life. And anyway, so I think it comes down to that when someone's a Christian, it's like they might, at the end of hearing all of these different sermons, having all these different experiences, having all this advice come to them over the years, they might end up having like two or three little things that actually, function in their life as being meaningful ideas or meaningful concepts that actually help them. Um, so yeah, I think that's what it comes down to, and it all ends up being quite personal, despite the fact that you have organized religion, and
Mm.
it looks from the outside as though everybody believes the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, I wouldn't like necessarily recommend that book to everyone, because it's very long and it can be a bit um dithering if you're not into
Meandering.
classics. Yeah, but I
Oh, they
think,
love to meander in the classics.
yeah, yeah. But there's a little twist in there that had a touch of, Crime and Punishment feel, which surprised me. Um, yeah, Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, I definitely really enjoyed. I think I read that last year. So I try and just pop in a few throughout the year, and
Yeah, I'm thinking of reading that sooner or later, because I was actually kind of skimming through it a few. Actually, I was on vacation. I found a copy of it, and I
mm,
have a friend named Steve Donahue, and it's funny, he has a blurb on that copy of Crime and Punishment. I guess he's just he's actually like
mm,
uh, he has enough clout he can get blurbed, I guess. But
yeah,
I read like the because sometimes with books I like to read the first line. I'll read the last line. I read the last line. I'm like, oh man, I'll have to I'll have to read that at some point.
yeah. Look, it's very it's very intense, and
Well, this is about a murder, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I used to be more willing to read horror and just disturbing stuff in the past. I'm pretty like selective now. Um, but yeah, it's worthy. It's worth reading.
Yeah, I'm one of those sick minds, like bring on the bloodshed and depravity. I mean,
But
one
I
of my,
say that, and then it's like R. Scott Baker's one of my favorite writers. So I mean, you know,
I mean, like
but
one of
he's
my
earned my
top
trust.
three books is Blood Meridian. So I mean, I don't know. I have to
Yeah,
be
I
careful.
haven't read that
Uh,
to my disgrace, but yeah, I
yeah, it's
there's always more books to read out
mm.
there. The list goes on.
Oh, and there always. I mean, there's plenty of books I'm been wanting to read. You know, speaking of, I actually started Pale Fire by Vladimir Nabokov some weeks ago, and I hadn't read
What's
another
that like?
Nabokov since Lolita, which is which
Mm.
is also in my top five favorite books of all time. I don't, but yeah, I finally picked it up. Yeah, it's a weird book. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a fictional poem, and then there's like fictional commentary about the poem. I haven't gotten to the commentary yet. I read the poem. Uh God, when I read it, it wasn't last night. I think it was the night before last. Actually, I read it.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of that. I actually, Joanna Reads
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
on BookTube. So she had a video about keeping like a reading journal,
Oh
and
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
used to I used to keep a journal just in general, and I thought, oh look, I'll give this a go, and I've been trying to jot down every day just something, what I was reading, what I was writing, and just other stuff that's going on at the time. And it's been really helpful because I often read a lot of books simultaneously. Like for some reason, I like reading 5 books at once, and I just sort of jump between them. And when I get sick of one, I kind of pause it for a bit, and then I move to the others. And it's been really interesting just actually writing things down to um, see some of the connections between the stories, which you normally don't think about. And I suppose that's the whole beauty of comparative analysis that they used to make us all do in English,
Yeah. I mean,
compared to
I guess my idea of a journal is texting my friends in the middle of the night and
yeah,
going, "Bro, have you read this book? It's crazy." And my friends are like,
yeah,
"Yeah, I recommended it to you."
yeah, yeah. Because otherwise, it's really hard to remember. And yeah, I hate it when you get to the end of a book and you just think, I can't even remember what I thought of that. I try not to, like, if I'm getting to the point where I'm tuning out a bit, I just put it aside until I can go back to it. Because yeah, it for me, like, I only read because you know each book, it's interesting, but ultimately, at the end of the day, no one's like out there waiting for my book reviews or going to give me a gold star if I finish the book. So it's like, what is this book actually going to give me in my life, or what can it teach me, or what can it help me to focus on that is relevant to my life or even to my writing. And I find if I keep reflecting on a book that I'm reading enough, like, I do get that sort of extra insight from every book. It doesn't even matter if it's something that I don't like. I recently read what's it called? I Who Have Never Known Men. It's that dystopian
Oh yes,
book that,
Jimmy Nuts and I think Joanna and a few other people have liked that book. Yes, I've heard of it.
yeah. So I picked it up, and I kind of like reading shorter books towards the end of the year just because it seems easier to me than
That's
taking
fair.
on any
Yeah.
series. But
I mean, Pale Fire's pretty short. It's 315 pages,
mm,
which I mean, to me, that's pretty short. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, I do want to read that. It has been on my list.
And I'm
But
reading Vineland, so I've been kind of on a postmodern kick as of late. Is what I'm
yeah.
saying. Which is how many pages is my copy? 385 pages. So again, not very long.
Mm. So yeah, I enjoyed the first half of the book, but I kind of, as it was getting towards the end, I didn't connect with it as much. So I'm not going to go into spoiler territory, but I think it's just when you have a setup to a story that is so mysterious, like you have no idea what's going on or why, curiosity is on your side. You can
Mm-hmm.
kind of, you're sort of thinking, where are they going with this? What are they going to do with this? And
Mm-hmm.
um, it has it's written in a very kind of understated way and quite simplistic language. And it reminded me a little bit of Ishiguro's sci-fi. So like,
He's one I've wanted to try for a long time. I don't really know where to start. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you should start with oh, it's that really short one that's super popular. It's about the butler. I can't. It's not A Pale View of Hills.
oh, no, what's it called?
It's not Never Let Me
Um,
Go either. Again, it's
no,
real short. It's about that
another one you
butler,
need.
and it's really
I'm gonna look
popular.
it up because I should know
They
that.
made a movie out of it.
I have read it and I really liked it. Um,
Remain of the
Remains of the
Day?
Day. Remains of the Day. Yeah.
Remains of the Day. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that it's either
Yeah.
that one or like Never Let Me Go, which is like his more sci-fi one.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm a little bit of a sentimental person. So The Buried Giant I really liked.
I've heard a
um,
lot of mixed things on that one.
yeah.
I know some people quite like. I know Neil Gaiman quite enjoyed it. I saw his blurb on the copies I've seen at my local bookshop, and then people like Ursula K. Le Guin kind of ripped on it. So I mean, I don't know. Um,
it's
I
it's
most of my friends I've met or I've known who've read it liked it, though they said it didn't go far enough in their
I
opinion.
listened to it on audiobook and I was on a long train trip. And I at certain points I was just getting a bit tired, just being like, okay, what's happening? It gets a little slow, I think, somewhere around the middle. But
Mm.
then the ending was so powerful that I was even crying on the train.
Oh
So I
well.
mean, yeah, it's like if you have the time to just allow it to be slightly longer than maybe it needed to be. I do think that that's one of his better ones, but he writes in this really understated way. And yeah, Clara and the Sun, that kind of feel, it reminded me a little bit of this I Have Never Known Men. But yeah, I suppose in fiction I like stories that get dark but then at some point have hope or some kind of transcendent thing, or even just tragedy well done. Like these are the kind of ending notes that appeal to me. But I Who Have Never Known Men, it kind of it the way that it ends to me just felt a bit like uh it was final, but it didn't really hit the right feeling for me. And
That's funny that's funny you say that because I actually think endings are quite important, which I think is kind of a
mm,
controversial view on BookTube because I've known a lot of people like Jimmy Nuts in particular, kind of coming back to Jimmy Nuts here, but
yeah.
he's like, hey, you know what, I don't really I'm probably misquoting him, so sorry Jimmy, I'm heavily paraphrasing here, but he's going, but it kind of he leans on the whole he doesn't really think the endings matter so much I'm
Mm.
kind of not the opposite, but I feel very differently. I think endings are really important to a book.
I just, for me, it's almost like a song where, some songs just fade in and then they fade out at the end. You're like, okay, that's what they're doing there. But a song that starts, like, that kicks in and gets you straight into it, and then a song that ends, with some sort of big feeling. I think it's just really, it can be really powerful, and books can do that and kind of mimic um, that journey and that type of experience. But yeah, I mean, every book is kind of doing something a bit different. Like with, I don't know if you've ever read Alex Phoebe.
No,
So
but I actually have the first of his Mordu books on my
yeah,
shelf.
so
He's one I want to get to because a lot of people I respect quite enjoy it. Marlon James, who wrote the Dark Star trilogy, which is only 2 books, but there's going to be 3. He really likes it, and I'm like, oh. And also the cover looks really interesting, so I'm like, I gotta pick this up at some point because I'm kind of a
yeah,
cover. I like covers.
yeah. Well, don't we all? Um, I
I
think
like the
with
covers of your books as well, from what I've seen.
Oh, thank you.
So there you go.
Yeah, I ended up doing them myself because I was trying to find an artist, and I just couldn't find anyone that was doing anything that was exactly what was in my head. So I just painted them and, put them together
Yeah,
myself.
it
And
looked. That's interesting. It looked real professionally done. There's some blurbs on the front. I'm like, damn, she must have paid like
yeah,
top dollar for that.
yeah. Look, this is a great thing about being self-published. It's like you get the experience of doing every single part of book creation, production. You get to have a window into how difficult some things are, and also just some things you thought were hard, actually you can do them, and it's not that bad. So I'm glad I redid the covers, because the Way of Unity had a different cover before. um, the artist that did some of the original cover image, he did the internal illustration. So I've still got the internal illustrations in there. And that's Andy Pakiorek. So he did this really cool illustration of the kind of animal deities in the Way of Unity. And then he also did some of the kind of symbol. There's a lot of symbols in there, like the skull and star and various things, and then some maps in the back. Um, yeah, so I like that I've got his stuff in there, and then I've got my own covers. But yeah, with Alex Phoebe, so I used to subscribe to Gallybeggar Press. So they're like an independent, small press. They mostly do like literary stuff, but I think, like, I've always liked to read things that are kind of just a little bit experimental and interesting. So I like fantasy, I like, classics, but I also just like having these kind of wild card random
Oh, you'll like
books that I would
Hellfire then,
never
because
read.
I'm kind of I'm only like 70 pages in. I am mind boggled. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you like books to stretch your thinking at times, and so Alex Phoebe was, he'd already written a few books with Gallybeggars that were more like modernist, as far as I understand. I haven't read them, but so they, you know,
it's like T.S. Eliot.
published. Yeah, I mean, I haven't read his book, and I'm going to forget what it was called, but it was sort of, the fact that he's publishing fantasy through Galleybeggars, it's a little bit kind of unusual for that publisher. But yeah, they're really sort of they let him be as creative as one can be. So it's quite a unusual book, and it doesn't necessarily give you that like big emotional response, but it's so interesting, and the language, like sentence level enjoyment, is just so good, and it's just quirky and weird, and very much inspired by Gormenghast, I'd
Mm-hmm.
say. So only recently read the first book in the Gormenghast series, and
Same.
I
I was
can now
actually
see.
one of my plans this year was to read the whole trilogy, and then I started Titus Grow, and I'm like, that was a stupid idea. I'm not going to be able to do that. Took me about 4 months to get through the first book. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's happening. Sorry, guys.
Well, yeah, Alex Phoebe's books
It's
are
beautifully done
huge.
though. I was
Yeah.
I thought um I have a friend who really likes it. He has some interesting opinions on fantasy, we'll say, and that's
Mm.
his favorite fantasy series. And often people who don't like Tolkien are like, no, 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 it's actually Gormenghast. They should be remembered fondly.
Mm.
I don't really see the comparison. I think Mervyn Peake and J.R.R. Tolkien are going for two completely different things, but
Yeah, they're so different. Yeah, I think with the Gormenghast series, it's really just that British quirkiness is
mm-hmm.
just done to like the nth degree, and I just really like that
Probably the
for
best
some
prose I've
reason.
read all year, for sure.
Mm. And there's another writer that I
And
also
also
discovered this
surprising
year.
amounts of
Yeah.
like character and depth, I thought. At least I felt so.
Mm.
That surprised me because I thought like it was gonna be like it's like this weird castle and look at all these weird characters living in there, but it's like, oh no, there's like, there's some emotion there a little bit. At least I thought
Yeah,
so.
and it's it feels to me almost like a puppet show at times,
Hmm.
where all the characters have these big heads and like weird looking faces and crazy outfits, and everything's a bit melodramatic,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also very visual, and
Mm-hmm. I
it's
think
like
that's
built for
the hard
animation.
part about Gormenghast is that it's so visual. At least from what I've read so far, it's
Mm.
just like whoa, because he was a painter. At least in my copy. I don't know about yours, but in my copy there are illustrations that he himself did of the
Yeah,
characters.
I listened to the audiobook first, and it was like when I
That must have been a
afterwards.
journey.
It was great though, and looking at the the voice for what was his name, the doctor that
Oh
giggles
hell, I'm
all the
forgetting it.
time.
I forget his name. I know who you're talking about. The really weird
Oh
one.
yeah,
Isn't
he
it
was
the one who
quite.
takes a steer pike in? It's like, oh, this kid looks
Yeah,
you're a bit odd and monstrous, but I'll take you in.
yeah,
Go
yeah.
nuts on my
No, he was
potions,
great.
kid.
And Nanny Slag, I like
Uh-huh.
Nanny Slag. Um,
I hate to
yeah.
say it because I'm probably gonna get like a red flag article written about me. My favorite character was Steer Pike. I quite liked him a
Well,
lot.
yeah,
He's a
yeah.
lot of
He's
fun.
he's cunning. He's the only person who and he's not even he doesn't even seem that smart in the scheme of things, but everyone else is so like on another planet that he can just
Yeah.
come in and
Everyone else is just oblivious, like the Lord's
yeah.
reading his books, and here's Steer Pike over here just kind of walking around doing his thing.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
did enjoy that. But also like on the topic of quirky, I wonder if I have it here. Uh, I don't know. I've rearranged my bookshelf and now I'm not going to be able to find it. But have you ever heard of the surrealist artist Leonora Carrington? So she does these strange sort of illustrations and paintings of these like bird-like people, and like it's she had a very interesting life just as a person, but
Hmm.
she wrote a couple of books, and one of them's called The Hearing Trumpet, and it reminds me a tiny bit of Gormenghast. It's like very short, but it's the main character is a little old lady who's gone deaf, and her best friend buys her a hearing trumpet so she can kind of hear what her family's saying about her, and she gets shipped off to a nursing home basically, but the nursing home is just like run by a cult. All this kooky weird stuff happens, and it's just yeah, it's just hilarious. I really enjoyed it, and it's not very long, and I think she wrote maybe one other novel and then a few short stories, but yeah, that I just stumbled across that at a secondhand bookstore, and I like picking up books that way sometimes, just things that I would never read otherwise. But of course, I recognized her artwork, and then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Have you read The Vor by Brian Catling?
No, I
Or
haven't.
B. Catling is another. That's what it says on my book. He was unfortunately he passed away a few years ago, but he was a sculptor, and he's like, I'm gonna write an epic
Mm,
fantasy, and then he did, and people were like, huh? One of my favorite writers, Alan Moore, was a friend of his and big supporter of it, which is how I know about it. And I ended up reading the first book. It was either last year or 2 years ago, and I thought it was kind of in a similar vein, quite unusual, strange.
mm. The Vor, did you say?
Yes,
I'm gonna write that down.
VORRH.
Yeah.
It's basically
Um,
about this big forest in Africa. It's kind of I like to describe it as like it's like Heart of Darkness, but the surrealism is literal because there's like a literal
mm,
fantastical thing going on. And in Heart of Darkness, it's just metaphor, and in Heart of Dark
yeah.
or in the Vor, it's a bit more literal.
Yeah. Well, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, there's two other books I just haven't gotten to them yet, and one of
Mm.
them, the Erstwhile, which is the second one, has a William Blake painting as the cover, and I love William Blake, so
Oh,
I'm like,
cool.
I gotta read that
Yeah.
if I'll get to it. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah. Look, it's always hard to find the time. Yeah, I started reading
Yeah, it's kind of like
what
surrealist art in a book.
yeah.
I did it with a buddy group with some friends of mine, and that was an interesting experience. I'll just say
Mm.
because they were just like, "What the hell is this?" And I'm like, "I love this."
Yeah.
Can't give it a 5 star, but I'm digging it.
Yeah, look, I think if you like imagery like that, and again, like music that's a bit um I don't know, kind of trippy and weird and goes in different places. Like I find stories, then you can enjoy stories like that too. It's just some people like a story to
I have to be in the
fulfill their
mood for it though.
expectations and be a bit more predictable. What's that?
I have to be in the mood for something like that though. I can't just like
Yeah.
die. I don't know if you're the same way, but I'm you know um I have to kind of prepare myself. Like I had to prepare myself for a Gormenghast because there were people who were like, "Oh
Mm.
yeah, it's a bit dense, it's a bit meandering." I'm like, "Oh okay," and then like it might be the densest book I've read all year, and not just because it's not like difficult to follow. Like the story is very
Mm.
straightforward. Like it's very, but it's just the like you were saying. It's this castle and this world and all the weird people who were in it. Like
Yeah.
that's what's so overwhelming about it. I was basically like, I'm always joking with my friends who are fans of Malazan. I'm always like, get Malazan out of here. This might be the most difficult fantasy book I've ever read.
Yeah, I'm gonna try
It is no
Malazan next
joke.
year. It's because I've started too many series where I've just read the first book, decided I liked it, but then I haven't been able to, finish the series. And there's like some books you jump straight back in, and the author like guides you into book two, you know where you are. But many books do not do that, and I kind of need to finish a few series and slow it down a bit on the ones that sort of go beyond three books and into,
Yeah,
you know,
I kind of burned out on epic fantasy after I read Gardens of the Moon. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna stick to standalones for 2026, with like one exception, and maybe I'll start
yeah,
some indie fantasy stuff that I've been wanting to get to. But that's it.
yeah, yeah, and it's hard to find standalones sometimes. Um, yeah, and by the Way of Unity can be read as a standalone because I wrote it
You
as
know,
a
I was gonna
standalone.
ask. I was gonna see if I can
Yeah,
try and bring this to
yeah,
me asking what is your series about, but I you beat me to it.
yeah. Oh, look,
Or is it a
it's
series, or is it like
well,
Baslag,
I
where
wrote
it's
it.
different stories just set in the same world? Like how would you describe it?
So the first book. it covers a lot of terrain, and I think if I was writing that book now, I would have given it a little bit more room to just fill in more detail and make it larger, because I kind of, for some reason, I'd been writing microfiction and short stories and things, which I didn't necessarily publish, but there's this pressure to condense everything into the smallest amount of words possible while still conveying meaning. And because I like poetic prose and things like that, and I wanted to build in a lot of symbolism, and the world building's rather complicated. It's like I have everything in there in this very distilled format. So I'm aware that it's a book that, for that reason, requires a little bit more concentration, just to
Yeah, but like I mean, like what's like the story of like what's the pitch for it for anyone who might be like curious? I mean, I'm already
yeah.
curious because I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
this seems weird and
It
interesting
is a
and
little weird.
against the
So it
grain, aka my type of
yeah
thing. So
the main character in the book is Sibylla Ladane, and she's the second daughter of a ruling family in a society where you more or less have the church, which is run by people called the intercessors, so they're psychic priests, and then the kind of lords or kings, whatever you want to think of them as, called the Scarlans. So they do all of the managing of trade and sort of practical rule of the lands. And there's 7 different territories, but we're focused in this area where Sibylla lives. And there's a sort of schism going on between the Scarlans and the intercessors. And Sibylla's father is planning a revolt, and he wants to kind of get rid of the intercessors. He thinks that they have too much power and that they're corrupt. And she sort of is very infantile in her upbringing. Like, her older sister looks after her. She's, the protected, sensitive younger sibling. And then, of course, finding out about this plot to kill them, the intercessors get in first and try and murder the whole family, and only Sibylla survives. So all of that happens very quickly at the beginning of the story. And then the rest of the story is really Sibylla rising to power, fulfilling her father's mission of just eradicating the intercessors. But then most of the story is really about the aftermath. So it's kind of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. If you completely destroy religion in this case, or something that you think is evil, if you wipe it from the face of the earth, like, what are you left with, and is it necessarily any better? And so we kind of look at that from Sibylla's perspective, but also some other characters are brought in second half of the book, and it's all about their point of view from the other side of the fight. So it's very much looking at it from different perspectives, and looking at the aftermath of this kind of religious purge. And yeah, as I say, the timeline is pretty compressed. So we're going through Sibylla's life from like 16 all the way through to when she's ruling the country. And so that part can be a bit quick in the first third of the book, but the rest of it really, like, by the time we get to the end of the book, the second book just picks up where it left off. But the first
so it
book
is like a continuing story.
It's a continuing story, but the first book is resolved, so you don't really have to continue. It's not like there are any sort of threads left hanging or anything like that. It's just the second book explores everything in a sort of slightly different way, slightly different characters continuing on from that. And then there's I've got other books planned, but each book has its own sort of theme. So yeah, the way of unity is really like, if you have these people in conflict and these people who, if they had their way, would completely eradicate each other, like, is there any way that they can work together or not not be in a state of hatred towards each other? So, and there's a lot of, from having done religious studies, there's heaps of religious stuff that I've kind of woven in, but it's not a recognizable religion from the real world. It's
So
just,
there's not like a
you know,
cross, and you go like,
no,
"Oh, look at that thing over there."
no,
Or
and
there's
it's
no
the
one going like,
intercessors.
crusade. We're gonna go on a crusade, even though it wouldn't
No,
really make
no,
sense because
and
crusade, cross, haha.
yeah,
That was funny. One of my friends and I read the book The Devils recently by Joe Abercrombie. It's Joe Abercrombie's new book. I'm sure
yeah,
you've probably heard of it from somewhere. Um, and it's kind of a take on religion, and it's a circle instead of a cross, but they still call it a
mm,
crusade, and that just
yeah,
bothered my friend to no end. I didn't catch that because I was kind of like, I wasn't really thinking about that, but it was kind of funny. He thought of that. Yeah, it's fun.
mm. Oh, look, it's so hard when you're building a fantasy religion or culture or whatever, and you have these words you want to use and these things you want to include, and then you're like, that actually makes no sense because it's not connected to the history of that word or the history of that concept.
Mm-hmm.
And with some things, you just got to be like, all right, it's going in, it's not, it's just in the background, it's not a big deal. But yeah, you really have to think these things through, and yeah, where these concepts even came from. Yeah, but I'd say the the first book, so The Way of Unity, yeah, it's definitely about like the consequences of doing something extreme, but it also, like, on a psychological level for each of the characters, it's really playing with this kind of inside outside um, dichotomy where you've got, the self as this kind of separate being where, you can be completely private in your own mind. But then, on the other hand, the connection that people have with others, either, individual people or like a whole society. And so there's a lot of like tension moving back and forth between these positions because not only are the intercessors psychic, like to a high degree, but everyone in the society is mildly psychic. So, people are more connected even than they are in the world that we live in. And there's a little bit of, like, some of the concepts, I suppose, are a bit more familiar in sci-fi, kind of thought policing and things like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. I know what you mean.
but it's like, it's in this religious psychic context rather than, techie sort of terminology and stuff there. But I do think, yeah, similar kind of themes there. And yeah, I mean, Blackstream. So Blackstream begins where the last book left off, and so you have some of the characters that were side characters that weren't point of view characters in the first book
Mm-hmm.
become point of view characters, but we're still with the same familiar people. And it's really sort of stage two of the aftermath, if you will. So
Mm-hmm.
certain power shifts happen again, and this time it's more about the guard, who are, like it suggests, there's sort of the military force in this world. And um, the if you get a power vacuum, what happens? And you kind of have, if you think of the seven lands as kind of city states, like they used to be quite borderless and almost communist in the way that they operated and shared resources and this kind of thing. But by the second book, you start getting more of these divisions between these different groups, and
Interesting.
yeah, so
Really, really
it's
selling me on these books. I kind of want to pick them up now.
yeah, so it's a little bit. The
I'll
second
see
book
if I
is a
can
little bit
sneak a Way
darker.
of Unity in somewhere in 2026.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, oh look, it's hard. It's hard to fit all the books in, but yeah, and then I'm currently writing a prequel at the moment because the founding person of this religion, so a man called Scarlan Karasek, he lived like 700 years before the Way of Unity starts, and so the prequel's all about his life and what these societies were like before this religion started. So it's actually really challenging to write because if you try looking at the roots of any religion, it's quite hard to get at the facts. And then if you focus only on facts, you miss, um, the kind of almost magical influence of the myth or the
Story.
yeah. So it's kind of like if you just go back into history and look at a religious founder and you say they were born on this date and then this happened, and it doesn't really
That
explain
guy
how
was
it
executed
started.
on the cross.
Yeah.
And then he came back to life 3 days later, allegedly.
Yeah, and then it just it takes the meaning out of it. But then if you focus only on the I don't know, scriptural accounts or the beliefs that come out of it later or the community understandings of things, um, it becomes a bit sort of wishy-washy if you're trying to actually tell the story as in a fantasy novel style. So I'm trying to sort of strike a balance here. I know what needs to happen in the story. I've got my characters, but unfortunately, Scarlin's cousin is way more interesting than he is. So I I have to work on that. Sometimes the side characters take over. Yeah,
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 if I recall correctly, I watched. Well, I watched half of your chat with Philip Chase. I had to dip out because it got
yeah.
spoilery. But
I got very spoilery. So
yeah, I left. So yeah,
yeah,
he's compared you to Virginia Woolf, who I haven't read. He said if Virginia Woolf read fantasy, or not read, if she wrote fantasy, which is interesting. Same friend of mine who really liked Gormenghast and turned me on to it. He actually put Orlando from
yeah,
Virginia Woolf on his suggested fantasy list, which I
yeah.
thought
Look,
was
I
quite
think
fascinating. So I guess she
yeah.
technically has, if you really want to get down to it.
I mean, Orlando is one of like I used to read, back in the day, but that was the first book that just completely like knocked my socks off in terms of um, I just didn't know that stories could be this creative or interesting or just like surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I absolutely love that story. But a lot of people, I mean, the thing with Orlando is because Virginia Woolf became important in, feminist sort of history and things like that. People focus a lot on the fact that this character changes sex
Mm-hmm.
in the book,
Yeah.
right? But like I find that just looking at it as a feminist novel, it kind of just simplifies it too much. I don't like to think about that. I just want to flow with the kind of weird story that she's written, and she has this this kind of like stream of consciousness way of writing that I find really accessible because she takes you through like emotions that you can relate to as a person, whereas you have someone like James Joyce writing stream of consciousness kind of whatever, in
Mm-hmm.
Ulysses, but there's so many little references that if you don't understand what they mean, it's just gobbledygook. And I had to study Ulysses at school, and I hated it. I hated it so much.
I read Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man when I was in high school, and
Yeah.
it left a real big impression on me because
I mean,
I was.
I haven't read
It's a
that.
good book for like like those kind of edgy kids who are questioning things, if you will.
Mm.
I kind of read it. I read it at the right time, if you will, so it left an effect on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's like you need a cheat
Hellfire is
sheet or
kind of like that, where
something.
I'm like, I think there's a bunch of things being referenced here, but I don't know what he's getting at. So
Yeah.
I still have a
And
lot
that's
of book to read. So I mean, we'll see where it goes.
yeah. Yeah, and that it makes it hard because not everyone wants to have to read like the entire cultural history of a time to be able to get into a book. Um, but yeah, I really loved Virginia Woolf's Orlando, but I've read some like her other more like most of her other stuff is like literary fiction, I suppose you'd call it.
Mm-hmm.
And not with the fantasy element. And the fantasy element is it even reminds me a little bit of Leonora Carrington in the way that it's just this kind of quirky British, like eccentric, just having fun with what a story can do. Um,
Like
and there
Slipstream, like surrealism.
it's a little bit of that, but just these kind of British aristocratic characters that are just a little bit absurd. I don't know if you know what I
So kind of
mean,
like
but
Gormenghast a little bit.
a touch of that, but with other layers in there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I really love that story, but yeah, it's if you look at it, people call it fantasy because it's a little bit fantastical, but because all of the rest of her work sits so firmly in literary fiction, people don't often
She
think
was
of
a
it as fantasy,
modernist,
but
I think.
yeah, more modernist, yeah.
I've not read Virginia Woolf. I just know of Orlando because of
Mm,
well, my friend, and also I know she was like one of those like tortured artist types. I think she had like
yeah,
bipolar disorder. I think she actually took her own life, unfortunately.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I'm reading her biography at the moment, which yeah, it's quite fascinating because she grew up in
I think she
this,
was bisexual as well. I don't know why I remember that. But
yeah, I mean, look,
I don't know why I remember that, but I
well,
think
this is the
that's
thing.
awesome.
People become sort of famous for things that other people want to use their memory for. You know what I mean? But she grew up in a stuffy Victorian household with this crazy extended family, and like her father was, um, a biographer, and um, like a lot of people in that family had like pretty crazy sort of bouts of mental illness and things like that. And I think um, she kind of found her creative outlet, but there's these times where she kind of goes a bit off the rails. But I still think she's such a fascinating figure because she and Leonard Woolf, her husband, and this group of writers actually, were publishing their own books, basically doing self publishing. They had a printing press and things like in their house. And Virginia's sister was doing like the book covers, and they were publishing things that, they didn't wait for someone else to do it for them. They were just kind of doing it themselves. And
Fascinating.
yeah, and I think, look, people living through world wars,
Mm.
like,
So much angst.
yeah. I mean, we think it's hard today dealing with the stress of things, but I mean, yeah, like
Or like a
I
nuke
think,
went off during World War II. Imagine how people felt then. Like, oh my god,
yeah,
we could blow ourselves up. Yeah, probably why there was so
yeah,
much paranoia in a lot of books from the '60s.
yeah, for sure. Um, but yeah, what else have you been reading recently?
I finished a comic called Ascender, which was pretty good. And
Yeah.
I also read a book called Train Dreams not too long ago, which is kind of American. There was a movie that came out of it recently. So I'm like, well, this book's like 116 something pages. So I'm just
Yeah.
going to knock it out. I've been wanting to read Dennis Johnson for a while, and I hadn't. So I am going to read it. Hopefully, after I finish these books, I can sneak in The Great Win by Alan Moore, which is his new fantasy novel.
Okay.
Because he's like, I'm done with comics. I'm doing this weird. I'm going to be doing my weird little art house stuff over here. So I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, I'll read anything you put out. He's like, I'm going to do a fantasy series now. I'm like, awesome. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard it's pretty good. So I'm hoping to read that. After that, I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of trying. I'm kind of on your level. I'm trying to not get too ambitious before 2025 comes to an end.
Yeah.
Though I'm reading Pale Fire, so I'm kind of failing at that. I've actually looked through some of your reviews on Goodreads. I find it interesting that American Gods was your first Neil Gaiman, because I don't know if that's where I would start, even though that's my favorite fantasy novel of all time.
Look, I just
Though, I mean,
religious themes, I don't know.
which is why I really like it. But it's I mean, it's my favorite fantasy book because it's like I don't know. I don't know. I made a video the other day about 10 contemporary classics. That was the first one that I brought up because I really do think it's regardless of what one thinks of Neil Gaiman and what he has allegedly done, I don't think his touch on the fantastic is going anywhere anytime soon, for better or for worse.
Yeah, I mean, like it is unfortunate when you have such an amazing experience of a book and then it is tarnished by like
It's
the
tainted. I don't want
things
to
to
say
do with
tarnished because I
yeah,
don't.
I mean, I because I don't like to write off authors' works because of their personal behavior and things like that. And I often am applying that to people long ago who, may not have been that great people. They might have been, very flawed, but I feel like the amount of books that would be chucked out with that attitude is just too many. And everybody
There's an
has a
old
dark
saying.
side, and everyone has the ability to create amazing things. I really do feel that's my view. But then, of course, seeing all this Neil Gaiman stuff, I couldn't help but feel grossed out. So I'm glad that I read American Gods when I did, because I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was so unique and so multifaceted and just
I mean, I have the 10th anniversary edition. My copy is kind of a beaten up TV tie-in, which actually, even though TV tie-ins didn't have crappy covers, the cover to mine, I don't want to pull it out, but the cover to mine's actually not bad. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I read it when I was in high school, and I was just absolutely swept away into it. So, I mean,
yeah.
it's, I think because Neil Gaiman has a bit of an obsession with mythology and how it relates to our world. I'm sure you noticed this as you were reading American Gods. But aside from The Sandman, which is his comic book series that made his name, I do think American Gods is his best exploration into that. Kind of like how myth and story, faith, how he relates it to faith.
Yeah.
How
And he
it
manages
how it
to
how it how
oh,
it
go on.
echoes in our world, how it relates to culture, how it relates to our world, and why people still believe in this stuff, even though, we're in this
Yeah.
kind of enlightenment, skeptical world. More skeptical, I should say. I don't think religious belief is going anywhere anytime soon, even though
No.
such folks as Richard Dawkins might think so, but as good of a scientist as he might be, I don't, I, that doesn't make him infallible. I don't
Yeah.
think religious belief's going anywhere, for better or for
Yeah, and
worse.
look, often people who spend their lives committed to, arguing for atheism, they're the most likely people to flip and become super religious. It's very interesting. It's like they like being in that debate, and they debate, and then they flip. So you get like evangelicals become atheists, atheists become evangelicals, but the people who are more neutral, who are not a part of that debate, just are not, don't tend to become atheists, like passionate atheists that are arguing all these points, because half the other side of the
That's
argument, it's
probably
in Christianity, so it's not
that's probably why I'm
generic.
so pissed off at like I don't know if you've read his Dark Materials, the trilogy from Philip Pullman. I'm like, you have this really interesting
I
setup,
haven't.
and you decide to waste your time ranting about that version of the Catholic Church, which is
Yeah.
this religion you've made up, which is totally not the Catholic Church. Which, look, hey, you can bash Catholicism, that's fine, but you could have done
Yeah.
something more there, and you didn't, and I'm mad at you for that.
Yeah,
It's
look,
like if Christopher
I
Hitchens
started reading it
wrote
a
the.
long time ago, but I didn't persist with it, and then I, for some reason, ended up seeing the movie, and now I've got confused about which bit was the movie and which bit was the book. So I haven't really given it the time it deserves. But the other Neil Gaiman story that I really liked was The Ocean at the End of the Lane.
That's a good one. That's an
Yeah.
interesting one because it's weird because I actually think Ocean at the End of the Lane has some of his best like writing, like
Mm.
in terms of like the part where we don't know the narrator's name, so we'll just say the narrator, where his cat gets ran over by the guy, and then the guy's like, oh, here's another cat, and the kid's like, well,
Mm.
this sucks. I like that other
Yeah.
cat more. Like that really connected with me. But then as it gets to the
Mm.
weird like fantastical stuff,
Mm.
it did kind of lose me a little bit, but I do think it's a very good book. I find it quite
Uh,
interesting that a lot of people
mm.
really love that book. Because again, I'm very much like I think American Gods is his magnum opus.
Mm.
Like that
But
is the one he'll be remembered for. I think. Anyway.
yeah, look, and I can understand that. There's just something like where a lot of people try and write dreams or dream-like
Mm-hmm.
descriptions, but there's certain like uncanny feeling in dreams that certain writers just can do well. And there were certain points in The Ocean at the End of the Lane where he just got that feeling so correct
Yeah, like the
that
babysitter.
I think that's,
Yeah.
yeah, and even just stuff like remember when he's getting that thing out of his foot
Yeah.
that's
Mm-hmm.
stuck in his
Yeah.
foot?
Yeah.
Just stuff like that happens in dreams. It's just so
That's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, it so I think he really got the mood and the just sense of being able to slip in between different states. Like I just think he did that really well. And in fact, the other author that I think does that amazingly is Christopher Bjorman.
Yeah, I've read a couple of his books. He's one of those
Yeah.
guys I really I like him in theory, but the books I've read from him, there's just things in it that really irritate me. Like I
Mm.
think his best book is Between Two Fires. At least that's the one I've liked the most out of all the other books.
Yeah.
I read those across the river because I like werewolves a lot.
Werewolf. Yeah.
And just like it starts brilliantly, like really great
Yeah.
atmosphere, great storytelling, and then it just turns into a comedy of errors, like towards the end. And I'm just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And then the Black Tongue Thief, I'm like, oh, this is fun, but the character voice got really annoying after a while. So yeah, just
Yeah.
in my
I think
opinion, anyway. I don't know if you feel differently.
no, I really liked it, but I mean, I watched a movie with my husband the other night, and I was piercing myself laughing. Like I had tears of laughter going down my cheeks, and he's just sitting there, not even smiling, not even like amused at all.
Was it
And
Was it intentionally so, or was it
Yeah.
unintentionally so?
No, it was I mean, it's like dry humor. There's certain humor
Oh, okay.
that I just like cracks me up. And then other stuff is just dead to me. So I think when you start getting into the land of humor and Black Tongue Thief and the dialogue and banter and stuff in that book, like it's either you like that kind of thing or it's going to fall flat. But I actually quite liked the sequel to that as well. I've forgotten what it's called now. Where
Yeah, I know a
it's
lot of
told
people
from
really
the
like that book. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, it's told from the perspective of this female warrior, and uh, that the audiobook for that is like the narration is really good. So he got because he did the narration for the first one,
Mm-hmm.
and the second one, I think her name's Nikki Garcia or something like that, but
Mm-hmm.
she really brings this character to life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just really frustrated me because I'm just like, this just feels like someone who read Joe Abercrombie and is like, oh, I want to do something kind of like that, and then
Mm.
just does it not well. At least again, in my opinion. I don't know if you feel differently, but I was just kind of shaking my head through a lot of it. And I'm like, people,
Yeah, look,
and I really try not to like, crap on people's taste in books because I hate when people do that. I think that's just disrespectful. But there are times where
mm,
I see people going like, man, this book was great. I'm just like, I don't get it.
mm,
I don't
mm.
get what you see in this.
Yeah, well, when I was recommending Gormenghast to someone, I was talking about, oh, it's so visual and it's just, you can see these characters in your mind. And she goes to me, I can't visualize and I'm not a visual reader. And I literally just stopped talking because I was just like, I don't know what to say. And I kind
I've
of,
known people like that. I'm just like, how do you read then? That makes no sense.
I,
Like,
I struggle to understand whether they would enjoy it in a different
how do you
way,
even know
whether
what's going on if you can't visualize?
yeah, yeah,
I don't say
it
that, but I'm
baffles me
thinking it. I'm like, how do you
somewhat.
even like understand what's going on? Like,
Mm.
I mean, I guess the words telling you what's going on will be like, oh, but like, I don't. How do you not visualize it? That makes no sense.
And it's not like I see images in my head like I do with my eyes, but it's vivid enough for me to have to have felt like I was there in some way and things like that. So yeah, I suppose the dialogue then becomes more important. Uh, at least that's what my friend was saying to me, that she really liked books with good dialogue and a
like,
steady plot.
like,
Um,
like one of my favorite moments in Gormenghast. Again, it has to, funnily enough, kind of come at full circle. The doctor, and he's in the
mm,
bathtub, and he
mm,
just describes the bath. I can't describe, or I can describe it, but I can't like how it feels. I'm just like, holy shit! Someone like I can see this, like I
yeah.
can sense it, you know. And he's just sitting in his
Mm,
bathtub, just kind of flopping around, or I forget what he was doing in the bathtub. It's not even that important
mm,
of a scene, but it's like
yeah.
it strikes such an image in your head, you know.
Mm,
I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know. There are scenes like that all over that book, but it's like, oh my, oh, how do you? It's like, what is this? I don't know.
Mm, yeah. But so what's on your reading list for next year, do you think?
I have a couple. I have ideas, so I'm hoping to. I'm hoping to, in terms of getting the kind of popular fantasy dumbs out of the way. I'm hoping to read the Greenbone saga by Fonda Lee because it actually
Okay.
sounds
Yeah.
kind of interesting. Because like the setup sounds really cool. It's like a crime saga, but it's in like a fantasy
Mm.
setting. I'm like, that sounds really awesome. I kind of want to read that, so I'm gonna be reading that. I'm gonna be reading James Elroy's American Tabloid, which is a crime
Okay.
novel about
Yeah.
um, the JFK assassination, kind of.
Mm.
And I'm hopefully going to read Anna Smith Spark next year because she's one I've heard you be compared to her as well, but I've wanted to read her for a while because I've heard a couple of my friends go like, "Oh, this is really good," and I'm like, "Oh, this sounds kind of like my thing."
Yeah, I read what is it? Something about broken swords. I'm gonna forget what it's called.
Was that the standalone she did? Because I got
No,
the
it was. I
hold
want
on.
to find out what I'm talking about here, so I'm giving you the right information. But oh, the Court of Broken Knives. That's it. So it's the first in a trilogy, I think. So yeah, because I wanted to read her work because she cites R. Scott Baker and Ursula Le Guin as two of her favorite writers, and I love both of those writers. And reading it, like, her sentence level prose is just amazing. Like, I love the style that she writes in, but at the level of kind of theme, I suppose, it gets so dark. It's so dark. And
I
I like books that go super dark and then pull you out of that.
but
With some books,
there's like
so,
hope in the darkness. I hear you. Okay.
yeah,
The one I
that's
have
my
is
theme.
a Sword of Bronze and Ashes. I actually thought this was like a standalone. I guess
Yeah.
it's not because a sequel just came out, but I'm hoping to get to this. Also, the cover is just lovely. I just love this
Mm,
cover. It's really
yeah.
nice.
And I saw an interview she
Funnily enough,
did.
reminds me of like Mervyn Peake's illustrations a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah. I saw an interview she did fairly recently. I can't remember whose channel it was on, but she was talking about that book being her nicest book, like least gratuitous or whatever. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll give her a second go because I did. As I say, I super enjoyed the style, but it got a little bit too kind of nihilistic for me, like
So,
towards the end. And I've spoken to Livia. Do you know Livia Elliott?
yeah. She's a good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think
she,
actually that's how either that's how I found you, or I think we were like I was ranting about like Nick Cave or something, and maybe you liked the post, or I don't remember. But
do you like Nick Cave or you don't like Nick Cave?
I do. No, I
Oh,
do.
good. Oh, good. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm a
though
big Nick Cave fan.
no, I'm more of a fan of his score work that he's done with like Warren
Mm,
Ellis. Like
yeah.
the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford is one of my favorite movies. Love the score. It's probably my favorite score
Yeah.
of all time. I love that. I love it. I just sometimes I'll just turn it on. I'll be like, oh my god, this
Yeah,
is
they've done so many
fantastic.
soundtracks together now that, like, I used to
Also,
want to
like
get every
what's
single thing it ever released, but it's yeah, he's done
there's a
way too
couple of
many
his
now.
songs I enjoy, but sometimes it's hard to get used to his voice. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this
Mm,
sounds good, and then sometimes I'm like, yeah. Like there's
yeah,
one I really like where it's just him yelling about how he's gonna shoot somebody in the fucking face. I'm like, this is
yeah,
great. I like this energy you're bringing, Nick. And also,
yeah,
what's that
yeah,
real popular one? It was the theme. It's called like Red Right Hand, I think. I like that one.
yeah.
That's a good one.
Mm.
So I like a
But
I like
again, I find him so funny. I find him so funny. Like,
I like
every
his
gig I've ever
weirdness. I'll put
gone
it that way.
to.
I like his weirdness.
Yeah, because yeah, I mean, I when I was I think I first heard Nick Cave. I was at a friend's house and um she was really irritating me, and I was like, that's it, I'm gonna go sleep in the lounge room. You're too annoying, I can't get to sleep. And I started listening to some CDs that they had in the lounge room, and they had all these Nick Cave CDs. And so I was like, oh, I really like this. And I sort of just became completely obsessed. And then I got into all the early stuff, all the birthday party, like more punk kind of screamy stuff that he used to do, and all the side bands and all the kind of different artists he used to work with. I ended up going on all these sort of, you
Also,
know.
oh yeah, Henry Lee. I don't think that's one he
Mm,
wrote, but I like his rendition of it anyway. I like that one.
yeah. And
Like I
just
said,
over the
I'm a very
years,
macabre person, so like I like his murder ballad stuff.
yeah, the murder bell. Yeah, well,
I'm like,
it's this
yes.
funny thing where my kids, they listen to Nick Cave, but then after a while, I'm like, okay, that you can't sing along with this song, like you can't sing these lyrics around your friends because it's like a bit weird.
They're like, what is
But
that you're doing?
yeah, I just love that over the years, every single album has been so different. Like
Mm.
he's just kind of gone in so many different directions and so,
Oh,
explored lots of different stuff. But
oh, my grandmother's calling me. Sorry about that.
oh no,
I have
it's all
to,
right.
have to. Unfortunately, I'll call her back when we're done here. but um,
Yeah, but going back to Livia, she was telling me about her experience of the rest of that Anna Smith Spark series that I had read the first book of, and she's like, it goes so goes so down in terms of just like how dark and how disturbing it gets. And
I mean, I
of
don't
course,
mind
there's,
that as long as it's well done. So I mean,
I'm sure it's well done. I'm sure it's well done,
bring
but
on the
yeah.
bleakness.
I'm just, yeah, I like the darkness, but I'm also like uh a bit of a sensitive soul, and I don't like things to be too nihilistic. So yeah, but I will
You
try
might.
that one that you've got
I was
because
about to say you
I have
might
heard
not
that.
like Blood Meridian then because it gets real dark.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to recommend when people, you think, okay, like I understood that scene, I thought it was fine, but like other people are gonna like it. And yeah, but I think if I can read Scott Baker and get something out of it, then who knows? But there are certain books where I've heard, like I've read a bit of a review and I've thought, yeah, I'm not going to go there. I don't need to have that in my head.
Yeah, but going back to books I'm hoping to read next year, let me think. 'Cause there's like a bunch I'm like, I should read that, and I should read that. One is actually called Gloriana by Michael Moorcock. I'm hoping to read that. Heard that's kind of
Okay.
his tribute to Mervyn Peake because he's a big Mervyn Peake fan, and I actually knew him because he's old enough. Um,
Mm.
which is about a queen, I think. So we'll see. Hope that's good. Um,
Yeah, every time I go to a secondhand bookstore, the Moorcock section, like I look at it, I look at like three or four of them, and I think there's too many. I don't know where to start. Like,
oh yeah, he cranks them out. I generally just go
yeah.
like just start with Elric, and if you're like, oh, this is cool, then just go on. You'll find something
Mm.
you like. He's yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm gonna try and read some like standalone fantasy over like series. I might
Mm.
because a lot of people have been telling me to read it. I might try make an exception to my standalone rule and read Jail Odom's book. I'm forgetting the
Yeah.
name of it, but it's gotten a lot of positive buzz, and I'm like, oh, well, she's
Mm.
also from where I live in Oklahoma, so I gotta give her some. I gotta give her
So
some.
you've read the first book?
I have not. I
Oh, you
want
have
to.
not. Yeah, no, I'd recommend it. It's really good. Like I'm sad to say I didn't get too far into the Spiffbo reads this time around. I've just been so busy, but yeah,
I'm
like
terrible
I
at
really
keeping up with
enjoyed that book.
new reads. I'm just over here in my corner reading all these weird books that a lot of people
Yeah.
don't talk about. um, I'll just be like, "Oh, the Vor," and people are like, "What the hell is that?" Yeah, like
Mm,
it's or
mm,
I don't know. But I do like some popular things, believe it or not.
mm.
But no, what else am I don't know. I mean, I have a good couple of books I'm hoping to get to. Like, I'm hoping to read more like science fiction and crime books because those are other genres I really like.
Mm.
So I'm gonna try and read a bunch of those next year because I'm like fantasy kind of burned out on it at the moment. I'll read these standalones, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of burned out on it at the moment. There's too much going
Yeah.
on here.
I I used to say that I like fantasy and sci-fi equally, but I've discovered that I always rate sci-fi lower than fantasy.
Well,
I don't know why that is.
I started out more as a sci-fi guy because I read like The Time
Mm,
Machine when I was a kid, and that blew my mind. And I actually read it because I have a class about science fiction, which is pretty awesome. But
yeah.
and they're like, read The Time Machine. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. One of my favorite books from when I was a kid. I still think it holds
Mm,
up, fortunately. So it wasn't like a one where childhood nostalgia, and then I read it. I'm like, no, it isn't as good as I remember. It's still very good.
yeah.
But yeah, I grew up more of a sci-fi kid actually, and then I kind of discovered fantasy once like I got into middle school, and um,
Mm,
people are like Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, ah, what's this? And then I saw the
yeah.
films. I'm like, oh, this is great. And I read the books. I'm like, this is fantastic too. And
So
it went
I've
downhill from
I've
there.
still never read Lord of the Rings, would you believe?
That's surprising, but I've had a couple of friends who've never read Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
So
I think it's I mean the movies came out when I was just like at the end of high school, and I don't know, they had a huge impact on me, but I just never had the time to sort of sit down and read something that's already seemed like I felt like I knew the story already, so I didn't have that urgency to read it. But I recently read, I think it was at the beginning of the year, I read The Hobbit, and it was this strange experience of like every single scene in The Hobbit, even though I'd never read the book, I felt like I'd seen it before. Even though there are differences.
yeah, that's the thing about reading like fantasy classics, sometimes because like you read them and you go like, ah, I've seen this, but this is the book that started all that stuff, so you're like,
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
it's weird because I, as much as I love Lord of the Rings, I actually think The Hobbit is like the best like straightforward story out of all of
Mm.
them.
Because I just read Beowulf. Um,
That's a good one.
like I listened to it
Hopefully
on
Philip Chase
audio.
doesn't like evaporate, or is that the right word? Hopefully he doesn't come in and be like, oh, Beowulf.
Well, I mean, this is the thing I thought to myself with poetry and these older stories, you can't just read them once. So I thought I'll listen to it, then I'll read it on paper, and then I should get a good sense of it. But
Or even
yeah,
listen to them.
you can see the connection with the Hobbit and some of the
Oh, that's fun. You
you
know
know
what? I'm actually another because the new Odyssey movie is coming out. I'm gonna see if I can try and reread the Odyssey next year. But
mm,
I don't know if it's gonna happen. But I'm hoping it does. Might have to get
yeah,
one of the newer translations and read it.
yeah, and this is the thing. It's when you're trying to go back and get it all in your head. Yeah, sometimes it's easier just to read a summary.
Oh,
If you
I
don't
think
know the
Beowulf's
story
actually
too
a lot of
well.
fun. At least I remember reading it in high school and
Mm.
really enjoying it. Was it the Heaney version?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, and yeah, it's a good one. It's a good translate. I've heard like J.R.R. Tolkien's translation is
Mm.
better because it's
So the
more.
one I listened to was someone else's translation, which I have forgotten. But the one that I'm reading on paper is the Heaney version.
Okay, yeah,
I
I
think it was
really
like
like the
two,
Heaney
two
version.
or something.
I like how it
Mm.
flows, and um, yeah, it's good.
Mm.
I really enjoy it.
Yeah, because
It's
it's
also a lot of
nice
fun.
to.
It's not a hard story to get behind. It's just this dude who
Mm.
runs around and murders things and becomes king.
Yeah. And
Punches
I
a sea
love,
monster in the face, good times.
yeah, this like word hoard, giving up your word hoard,
Uh-huh.
as in like your knowledge and your
Also
speech.
bizarrely Christian, even though this is like about a non-Christian world.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Because
strange
like the
listening to it
Christians kind of
because
found the story and like we're gonna have to co-opt this.
yeah, yeah.
So you're just kind of
So
left wondering, like, I wonder what this story actually looked like before the Christians, got their hands on it.
mm, mm. Yeah, so I would say like I'm interested in a lot of these older stories, but I can't just read them back to back. Like I really need to, you know, pick one, focus on it, give it its time, and then, move on to something else. Because some reason in our house we've ended up with like all of these books on like different fairy tales and myths from like every different culture under the sun, and it's just like a lot to take in, and
That must be
it's very
interesting
compressed language.
to talk about with your kids, because your kid
Yeah,
probably looks at the bookshelf or whatever, is like, "What's that?" And you're like, "Oh, well,
yeah,
it's." Should I explain the one where they murder people for taking his axe? I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know how
Yeah, there's
familiar
there's
you are
always
with
an
Norse
awkward
myths.
line in these fairy stories where you're like, yes, that means,
That's funny. I actually recently read The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter, which
Mm,
is her kind of, I guess, feminist retellings of old fairy tales, like Grimm's fairy
mm.
tales. Quite fascinating.
Yeah, I have some of her books on my shelf, but I haven't actually read any of them.
I
Um,
think you would like. I think you would like The Bloody Chamber. Anyway,
mm.
it's quite out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Or maybe not out there, but it's beautifully written. But it's very sensual,
Mm,
sexual too, but sensual I think is a better word.
mm. I mean, I think if people are doing interesting symbolic stuff with that, or it's uniquely done, or even if the language is sort of beautifully put together, it can work and it doesn't seem gratuitous. But yeah, I also have had a lot of people recommending Tanith Lee, but I have one of her books on my shelf, but it's not the one that was recommended, so I'm don't know where to start with her. She's got a lot of stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like me with like Ursula K. Le Guin. I'm like, good lord, she put out a bunch of
Mm,
stuff. I don't know where to start, and people are like, oh, why don't you just start with Earthseed? I'm like, maybe. You know,
mm,
I have thought about getting that edition with that really gorgeous Charles Vess artwork, but I just haven't bitten the bullet on
mm.
it yet.
Yeah, with Le Guin, like I definitely liked her Earthsea series, but it's a very disjointed series. Like
Mm.
she didn't just sit down and write a trilogy. You've got this first book and then the second book, and then I think it's the third book is short stories, and there's this huge gap before she wrote the final book, and the style completely changes.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. I had a
so
friend who actually read the Earthsea books this year, and we were actually talking about this, and he's like, "Well, I kind of like the earlier books because there was like this kind of less is more thing going on here," and then
yeah,
she kind of went full like Tolkien. Here's how the world works, and you're like, and he felt that kind of took the mystique from it, and I'm like, I can understand that. Like that's
mm.
that's a
But I think if you
I've had
read
that
it
happen to me a couple
spaced
times.
out, like if you know how some series you have to kind of read them within a certain amount of time or you're gonna forget what's going on. Like you can read Earthsea really spaced out
Mm.
because that's how she wrote it. Um, but the final book to Hanu, like it's really, really good. Um, yeah, they all have their own distinct sort of mood to them. And I mean, the very first book is quite, in that traditional fantasy
Yeah, it's like a adventure.
realm. Yeah, but then it branches off in various areas. So it's quite interesting. But her sci-fi, even though it's fascinating intellectually, like it sometimes leaves me a bit cold. It's just,
Yeah, I've heard a couple people say that. Like, oh
yeah,
Lord, I don't know if you watched Two to Ramble, but they were kind of
yeah.
cold on the Dispossessed, and
Mm,
I think like Alan from Alexandria didn't like the Dispossessed. I think Joanna does though. So I don't know. I don't know. I
yeah.
haven't read any of
Mm,
these books. I actually have her Language of the Night, which is her essay. I thought about just saying screw it and start it there, but I haven't read it yet.
mm.
Maybe we'll see.
Like I think her sci-fi that I like the best. I'm just trying to remember what let me just look this up, so I'm going to get the names right. Yeah, The Lathe of Heaven is good fun. So that's it's sci-fi, but it's not too heavy. It's not, a difficult read. Like I would recommend that to most people. I really didn't like The Dispossessed. She did this book, Lavinia, which is a
It's
sort of
that's kind of the snag
historical
with
retelling.
that's kind of the snag with science fiction is because it's called the literature of ideas for a reason. You could just
Mm,
have the idea and the idea will carry you through the book. That
yeah.
so you kind of have to adjust. Like I have some friends who struggle with that, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like I don't know if I'd call something like childhood childhood's end. It's not one that'll make you cry. Is what I'm saying.
Mm.
But if you want to
Yeah, I enjoy childhood
if you want to
then.
think deeply, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and I enjoy
Um,
thinking deeply, so it's.
yeah,
Sorry, I didn't
for
mean to interrupt
sure.
your thought. What were you
No,
talking?
I just wanted to say that Lavinia, I hated it. It was terrible. So it's just weird because it's like I was like, oh, she's one of my favorite authors, and I'm like, but I hate this book. And then this book is like she writes a great variety of things. So I mean, you got to admire that in and of
Isn't
itself. I
Lavinia
feel,
like her retelling of like one of the old like not the
yeah,
Odyssey, but something like the Odyssey? Isn't it like the Aeneid or something or
yeah. It just
Metamorphosis?
didn't. I didn't like it.
I wish
I
my
didn't
friend,
like the
I wish my friend Steve
style
Donahue
of
were
it.
here. He would know.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's I mean, I also recently read C.S. Lewis's Till We Have Faces, which is
Mm.
a retelling of the Cuban psyche myth, but told from the perspective
My
of
friend Sam really
Psyche's
loves
older
that
sister.
book.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, it's pretty straightforward for most of it, but then it gets really abstract at the end. So I think it's like if people like the style of the first part of the book, they can be a bit like, what the hell just happened? um, and a lot of people say when they've read it too young, they just didn't get it. And it, you know,
Yeah, I actually think C.S. Lewis's his nonfiction work. I always found it more interesting to me than his
mm,
fiction work. I mean, I do have a soft spot for The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. I do think that's a good book. It's like a good sit down and it's super cold
mm,
outside. You got a fire on. It's a good read for that. Um, but I do agree with Tolkien where I do think his allegory is a bit too heavy handed. I think in
mm,
his
mm.
nonfiction work he's a bit more he allows himself to be more thoughtful, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Like I read Mere
I know.
Christianity
Good.
earlier this year with my dad because he was reading it and he was like, "Whoa, this is great!" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll read
Yeah.
it." I've been meaning to for a long time. I just hadn't done it, and then I read it. And I'm like, "This is, I mean, I don't know if I agree with all of the, of course, the conclusions he
Mm,
comes to, but I do think he explains it in a very thoughtful manner."
mm. Well, that's what you want. You want to be able to like explore ideas while you're reading. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I do find that some stories you just want to be immersed in a world, or you want to have a certain type of experience. But like I do every now and then, I need to have an ideas book. I want to feel
I always
sort of.
feel bad for C.S. Lewis too. He almost seems like a punching bag in the fantasy community for lack of a better word. I'm like, oh,
He's got a lot of fans though
I'm like,
on the other
hold
side.
on, like he's written good stuff. Okay, don't
Mm,
beat him up. I haven't
yeah,
read the space trilogy is what he calls it.
yeah, I
My
haven't
friend
read that
Sam really
either.
loves that one too. He's like, you should read it. And I'm
Mm,
like, I know, I own two of the three books. At least I think I do. Either the whole trilogy or two of the
mm,
three. Just haven't gotten to it yet.
yeah, yeah, and I think some of these books they just speak to you at a different point in your life. You know, if a book isn't calling to you, it's like you don't need to read it right now, but it might be something that'll mean something to you later on. And yeah, I think like Till We Have Faces it's very much a confrontation of the soul kind of theme. And some people just don't find that interesting, or it's like, okay, well, that's fine for you, character. I'm not really applying this to myself. But I think if you take some of I mean, there was a quote from Mere Christianity, which I haven't read in full, that mapped pretty much straight on to the themes of Till We Have Faces. So
Oh, I'm curious what that is,
yeah,
because I'll have to look back at it.
yeah. So yeah, I would recommend it.
If there's one thing that bothers me about modern readers is that they expect stories to be a certain way.
Mm,
I don't know if I'm speaking to the choir here, but like there's some
yeah,
books I've
there you are.
read that I think are quite beautiful and emotional and stirring, and people are just like, oh well, the characters are just meh, and I'm just like, but that's not the point of the book. You don't read
Yeah,
Lolita to fucking, you know, you don't read Lolita to fucking identify with the characters, though you can do
yeah,
that. That's kind of scary if you do, but hey, go do it. That's fine.
yeah.
Maybe not fine, but you know what I mean. Yeah,
Mm,
it's probably not a good example because I think modern readers could enjoy Lolita, but there's other books I've read, like The Vor, for instance. I think The Vor is a very
mm,
unique, fascinating book, and I had some friends who were just kind of like, whatever, which is fine. You don't have to like it, but
mm,
I do wish that modern readers would like expand their horizons, if you will.
mm. Well, one of the books I read at the beginning of the year was Seth Dickinson's Exordia.
Mm,
Have you seen that one? It's like a
I've
bright
heard of
yellow
it. I've
cover
heard of
with
the
big
one.
eyeball on it.
I've heard of the one book he did called like the Trader Bow, like cosmonaut or
Barry
something.
Cormorant. Yeah,
Heard that's
because
really
I
good.
really enjoyed his yeah, the Trader Barrow Cormorant. I really liked that. And I haven't read the next two in the series, although I want to. But this was Exordia was his first sci-fi novel, and it is just completely wacky. It is like so mind-bending,
Mm,
but
interesting.
it's just good fun. But there are so many ways that you could have a bad reading experience with it. Um, like the characters, they're not necessarily realistic, but they're good fun within the context of the story. And he's doing so much stuff with the kind of sci-fi world building aspect of it that like you literally feel like your brain is stretching when you're when you're reading this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I've only found one friend that liked it, and everyone else has just been like, yeah, I don't know about that.
And like, look, I like good characters as much as the next guy, but I don't know. It's just I can't. You know what? I can't really describe it aside from just being aside from it just sounding like I'm getting frustrated at people for not liking the
Mm.
books that I like. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think there is a certain attitude of meeting a book on its own terms
Yeah,
that
I think
allows
that's
you to,
there's not a
experience.
lot of that, is what I'm thinking. That's a
Yeah.
good way to put it. I don't know if there's. I'm kind of frustrated with a lot of modern readers not doing that.
Mm. It's almost as if they're too aware of sort of writing advice. At this point in the plot, this happens
Yeah,
and
exactly.
when this
Yeah.
happens, and then, it's like, okay, well,
I
you've
have
read the
another
rule book, but
I have a friend who, funnily enough, this guy I read The Vor with, who is very much like that. He read all these like how-to writing books, and that's just how he
mm,
said this is how a story works, basically. I'm just kind of
yeah.
shaking my head. I'm like, that's not the only. It can be really frustrating talking with him about books
Mm.
because he's like, oh, it's
Look,
bad because it doesn't do this specific thing, and I'm like, well, that's the magic of writing is that there's no specific. Not saying it's up in the air, but like there's
mm.
more than one good way to tell a story.
Yeah, and if every single story hit these same points in the same way, but with different characters and slightly different costumes, I mean, we wouldn't need to read so much. There's no point in reading more and more stories because it'll all be the same.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I always like to hear people's little spin on things, and this is why I
That's
like
why I also don't read like how-to writing books. I feel that would limit
mm,
me as a writer
yeah.
myself, if that makes sense. Which sounds
So what
really
are you working on?
which sounds really pretentious. I'm sorry. That sounds like really arrogant, but it's like I've seen people who like really like really go hard into this whole like how-to writing thing. I think anyway, it kind of holds them back, ironically enough.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're feeling lost and you've written, you know, a huge manuscript and you've been dithering with it for 20 years or something, like maybe you need to just like look at a little bit of common sense structural stuff. But yeah, it's not the be all and end all with creativity. You don't want it to kill the creativity.
Yeah, though
Mm.
I did read one of his books and it was really weird, and I was like, "What the hell? You're always complaining about all these weird books, and you wrote this?" And he's just like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
I was trying things." I'm like, "Okay, buddy. All right. I won't argue on this. I'm just you were asking me something though.
Yeah, I was asking about what you are writing.
Oh, I wrote a fantasy novel. It's called A Plague of Nightmares. I'm still in the midst of
Oh,
editing
right.
it. It's been agonizingly slow because
Hmm.
college and a bunch of other things are happening. But hopefully after I graduate, I can slap away some time and I can make some
Mm.
time for it. But yeah, no, it's a book about a guy who kind of funnily enough kind of bring back to full circle to Nick Cave here, but
Yeah.
there's that movie The Proposition. Did
Oh, yeah.
you ever watch
Mhm.
it?
Yeah.
The whole point of the whole kind of pitch of that movie is the guy gives Guy Pearce the choice, like, okay, kill your brother or I will hang your other one. Um,
Mm.
it's kind of like that, except the stakes aren't quite as uh he does not have a brother in jail. I'll just say that, but it's
Yeah.
very much the pitch though is this guy gets into a fight with the wrong person who's kind of one of the religious people of this area, and another guy who's kind of an acquaintance of his goes, okay, you can either go through this punishment or you can do this thing for me, and he reluctantly
Mm.
agrees to do the thing for him. That's kind of where it's at, and it's kind of started this series I'm hopefully going to get to. I did start on the second book of the series, but that stalled out because, again, school and stuff kept getting in the way.
Yeah. And look, the thing is, you know, you can chip away at stories, but sometimes when something's been permeating in your head for a long time, if you finally get like a big chunk of time, sometimes it just all comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, well, I wish you all the best with it. It's not easy finishing a story. You know,
Oh, no, editing's a pain in the
having
ass.
it.
Like, a lot of people are like, oh,
Yeah,
I love the editing. Oh, I love it. And I'm just like, it's a freaking pain.
yeah.
Now, it might have to do with like, I'm not saying I'm against editing
Mm,
for before people start flipping out. I'm just, I'm an impatient person.
mm.
So I kind of struggle with sitting down and going into the weeds, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm in editing mode at the moment, and yeah, it's less energetic. I feel it's like when you've got the new ideas coming through. It, you know, you're kind of completely in the zone. But when you're like picking up all these little errors and inconsistencies, it sometimes doesn't feel as fun.
Yeah, I sighed a
Um,
lot because I gave it to a friend of mine to edit, and I gave him money for it. And he's like, "Dude, you
mm,
sigh a lot. You got to get rid of some of these." I'm like, I didn't even
yeah.
because I was trying to convey that, like, this is kind of a crappy setting. People aren't happy. It's
Mm.
people are tired. Like it's a hard world that they're living in. Is what I'm getting at. So there's a lot of sighing.
Mm,
Is what I was. Now some of it was just me kind of using it. I didn't really like think consciously about it, but some of it was just like,
mm.
you know, it's kind of a crap world and they're tired. They just need to
Yeah.
Need to rest.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even see the repetition of things sometimes when you've been working on it too long. It's like it becomes invisible.
Yeah, another yeah, and he's just like, dude, you gotta tone that down a little bit. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll yeah.
Mm.
There's also one of the characters who has a uh did you ever read The First Law by John
I've
Davies?
read the first two books
Okay,
of
like
that
the
series. Yeah.
character Glocta, he's not.
Yeah.
I won't say he's a one for one beat of Glocta. Like he doesn't rant about stairs, but he has a
Mm.
he has a like permanent leg injury, and it's kind of
Yeah.
him walking around, and he has a cane, and it's very painful.
Mm.
Um, and he would be like, "Well, maybe use some other words aside from this word that you've been using." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay," because like you said, sometimes you get so into it, you kind of don't notice the
Mm.
repetition stuff.
Mm. Yeah, and I think also because, you've only lived the life that you've led, and, same with me. It's like if I'm writing a scene of something I've never experienced, like I just go to the nearest thing I can think of, or something I've seen in a movie, or something I've read somewhere, and try and approximate it. But then because you're only drawing on your own experiences, you kind of tend towards certain words and certain descriptions and things. And sometimes I have to really say, okay, this character would not think that way, You've got to kind of, especially when you're doing multi POV, just really take the time to remember who the character is, like put the character on before
Yeah.
writing.
So in the book I'm working on, the second book, which is because I didn't really want to do because I was trying to buck fantasy trends as much as I could with this first book. So first book is like 200 something pages because I didn't want to do
Mm,
one of those super epic books that has a bunch of world building and you have to know all this. I didn't want to do any of that. So I want to give them a
yeah.
nice, approachable story that they can get into pretty easily. And the books are a bit more episodic. There is an arc I'm hoping to do for it, but it's more like
Mm.
episodic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And look, it's the idea of making it easy for the reader. It's something that I thought about quite a lot before I wrote Black Stream, and I put together because I thought to myself, how am I going to recap the first book? Like so much happened in the first book. So I ended up doing this kind of short history, and it goes for a few pages, and it's got these little references and things. But that took ages to create because I was like, I need to put in the world building, the history, but not make it too heavy, make it easy to understand, easy to refer back to, that kind of thing. Um, but I do think the second book flows a bit easier because everything is built, and you do
Mm.
get that a
Mm-hmm.
lot with second book.
And also, this first book takes place in a small town, so I didn't really want to kind of. Now, the second book, I am
Yeah.
hoping to expand the world a little bit, so I can do kind of the world buildy stuff. Hopefully, not too much
Mm.
of it. I don't want it to detract from the story.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually reading at the moment The Prophet of Idan, so the second
Ah, yes,
book in that series.
it's rolling
And
right over there.
it's just like kicked into its groove. Like have you read it?
I've read the whole trilogy.
Yeah. I thought, okay, I don't like battle scenes. They're a bit boring. Every battle scene, I am just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
I like
They're
battle
all really
scenes.
different.
It just comes in part with being a man, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's just so often people rely on the same descriptions,
Oh, okay, yeah,
always
yeah.
someone
There's
gets a
no there's
sword
no
in the
battle scenes in
eye,
the book that I'm writing, except for like a dream, but it's like more like a skirmish
Mm,
because again, I wanted to do something kind of different, and I was more inspired by like colonial history
yeah.
than
Mhm.
so there was a in the backstory. We'll just say I'll just be very brief about this. There was a war
Mm,
between these white dudes who showed up on this land and the Native American XPs who lived there first, and are like, who are these freaking white guys? What are these white guys doing here? Like,
mm.
we gotta get rid of them. And
Yeah.
there's only like one, but it's like a dream sequence, so it's not like a battle scene or anything. So There you go.
Mm.
That's also how he
Yeah,
got
and
the
look,
leg injury, by the way. The character. This is how he got his leg
yes,
injury.
yes.
I don't outright say it, but like, you should
Mm.
put two and two together.
Yeah, no, it sounds interesting, and
Like I swear, I bet
that's
someone if when I put it out, someone's gonna go like, so how did he get his leg injury? And I'm just like, he fought in a war.
yeah.
He got it there.
Mm. So, do you have any of that kind of small town mentality thing as a theme? Because I read a bit of Steinbeck recently. So I
Mm,
read East of Eden a couple of years ago, and then
I love that book.
I just read his short story, The Pearl. But he gets that small town thing down so well. Just I don't know the
I mean, I live in
kind
a
of.
city, so I mean,
Mm,
I'm not really the right person to ask, but I thought that a small town would be kind of easy to. Plus, I've read
mm,
like I think Stephen King is quite good at small town kind of. So I was kind of
mm,
pulling a little bit from that. I'm also kind of a sucker for the small town with a dark secret kind of trope. I like that,
yeah.
which is kind of what this book is. So I guess that fits well. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, no, I don't know if I was doing it consciously, but I'm sure some of that got in there.
mm, mm. Have you ever read East of Eden?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. It's my favorite. Well, that and Of Mice and Men is my favorite.
Mm.
Steinbeck.
I
Because
haven't read Of Mice and Men,
because
but
I
yeah.
find with Steinbeck when he's good, he is really outstanding, and when he's
Mm.
kind of not great, he does Grapes of Wrath. Um, which I read when I
Haven't
was
read
in
that either.
school and thought it was super dry. No pun intended.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
I thought it was really dry and just like, oh, our rights are being stampled on. I'm just like, I don't really.
Mm,
I
mm,
don't know. There's something about like the biblical scale of East of Eden that I prefer.
mm. Yeah, and I think that kind of small
I
town.
like deeply spiritual books. If you couldn't tell.
Yeah, 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 and there's that note of tragedy in there, like I don't know. It actually reminds me a little bit of some of the Nick Cave, the themes he used to be into with all the kind of towns of the deep south. I mean, he actually wrote a couple of novels too.
Yeah, I actually
Um,
read his book, And the
yeah,
Ass Saw the Angel, and that was a
yeah,
frickin' just like I don't know what that was, but I'm like I kind of dig it.
yeah, yeah. I read that when I was a teenager, so I was like, yeah, okay. But I haven't read it for many years. But I think the best part of that book is just the first page. There's this description of the first, and it's so much like his songwriting um, that I feel like that first page just kind of encapsulates like almost everything if you don't have time to read the whole thing. But
I did get a little burned out with it towards the end, but I remember really
yeah,
liking it. I like the diction, especially when it wasn't in the what was the dude's name? I think it was Euclid or something. Started with
yeah,
an E.
yeah. Mm.
Because I sometimes struggle with like vernacular. So
Yeah, the funny thing with that book is that
I
because
struggle with
even
stream
Cat,
of consciousness as well. So
yeah,
that
and like rightly so because it doesn't unless you can follow it. Um,
it's probably why I
you know,
have kind of a hard time with like postmodern stuff because there's so much of that. Oh man,
yeah, and sometimes it's not good. I mean, sometimes it is just a pain
sometimes it's just
to
bad.
read. Yeah, I mean, I don't like everything that's experimental. Like, I really still need that human connection. Um,
You like the structure. I'm the same way. I like the
yeah.
structure of a good story.
Mm. Yeah, and I still feel that, and this is why, like Virginia Woolf, she doesn't lose touch with her characters.
Hmm.
Like, it doesn't matter how much weird stuff or how far the thoughts may run. like you're still connected to the character and clearly connected to whatever idea it is that's being discussed. Whereas some postmodern stuff, it just jumps all over the place to the point where you don't even know what you're reading anymore or what it's trying to communicate. And sometimes a story shouldn't be difficult. you know, it's like, just tell me. Like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, just tell
Yeah,
me.
it's kind of. I'm reading a book called Vineland at the moment by Thomas Pynchon, and the story's pretty straightforward for the most part, but like he also really likes to go into like flashbacks. He'll like introduce characters, like here's a character and here's their backstory, and look at this. I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
can we get to the actual plot?
Yeah.
That would be nice. But I mean, I'm liking it so far. So yeah, I get what you mean. Is what I'm saying.
Mm. Yeah, because I did this like novel critique group where I think there were 8 of us, and we would all read each other's full manuscripts and then give like feedback on them. And so it's pretty good. Like when it was your turn, people were giving you feedback. You had 8 people who'd read the whole thing, and they all got to discuss it together. But there was one guy who'd been working on this sci-fi story like for literally 20 years, and he had this problem where he was like, okay, I've got this character, but I can't move the plot forward until I've told their entire story. So it was basically just couldn't chop between his POVs, and it just had him locked in this strange situation where you're going through like childhood and you're going through it was just like, you don't need all of this right up all together in a big block. But sometimes it's not so obvious how to arrange things in a story when you are moving between other people's points of view. And I think it's so interesting reading other people's writing, like other writers' work when it's in a draft state, just to see, anything that you can pick up to fix. It's like you're then aware of it in your own work and how to apply that to your own writing. So yeah, I always find that to be really beneficial.
Yeah, it's a yeah, I think that's always helpful. It's always interesting for me when I read some, because I'm actually taking some writing classes at the moment. I'm in a poetry class, and I wouldn't say I'm a particularly skilled poet, but it's quite interesting reading a lot of the other people in my class's poetry, because it's like, oh man, well, one, it blows my stuff out of the water, but two, it's really interesting how they play with language. It's given me a better it's given me a deeper appreciation for poetry, if you will.
I've got to say,
Modern poetry, anyway. I like older poetry more. I don't read a lot of it because I just have.
I this book, Virtue's End by Joseph Sale. He's is an indie writer who's written like a lot of books, most of them horror. But unlike me, he has a very deep understanding of the structure of poetry and how to actually, write in proper meter and all this sort of thing. And this is an epic poem. Like it's this fat, right?
That's a
And it's a
poem.
poem. It's a poem, but it's so readable and it's so damn good. It is just, he's an amazing writer.
I'll have to pick that. I'll have to find that.
Yeah, he so this one is a sort of fictional continuation of Spencer's The Fairy Queen, and like it's very personal, so it kind of I don't know, like he sort of like bears his soul in this book. I just find his writing to be yeah, just amazing, because it's like slightly experimental, but also really hitting all those notes with like the references to mythology and just in this formal style of poetry. But he does write novels as well. He's got like video game based horror series that I haven't read, and he's got all sorts of other stuff. But
Yeah, I mean, like one of my favorite. I mean, my favorite poem It is not the James Joyce novel. It just happens to have the
Mm.
same name. It's Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson.
Mm.
I actually did a reading of it on my channel, so as proof of my
Yeah.
devotion.
And poetry is not always easy to get into, but yeah, I found this like Virtue's End to be completely readable. Like you don't get sort of fatigued after one page. It just flows. And I got onto his writing when the nerdy narrative.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that
I
her
actually
name?
had her on my
Leslie?
show a long time ago. I think I
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. So
irritated her
she.
because she hasn't talked to me again.
Ah,
Because I was kind of,
I'm sure that's
I made
lovely.
a comment. I'm like, oh, she really likes Stephen Graham Jones, who I think is a good
Mm.
writer. And I was like, oh man, I kind of wish it was a Wendigo. And I was kind of joking a little bit, and I think she kind of took that the wrong way, and I think she got mad at me, so she hasn't spoken to me since.
Oh, who knows? Who knows?
I don't know. Maybe
I,
it's just me overthinking it, but I'm just kind of like And then I was like, I was joking about another YouTuber we know, and she was kind of like. So yeah, I hope not. Maybe it's just me overthinking it, but I don't know. But yeah, so I have
well,
had
look,
her on my show, is what I was saying.
yeah, and she was reading through Joseph Sale's I think it's a 7-book series, horror series, and she was loving it. So anyway, I decided to not read the book she was recommending, but read this one, and then I ended up getting him to edit Black Stream. So he works as an editor as well. So that worked out really, really well, and yeah, he did a great job. Editing was a pleasure to work with. But yeah, if you have the time and inclination, I'd definitely recommend his work, and I'm sure his horror stuff is just as good. It's just that I haven't read it.
I'll have to read this. I mean, again, I don't read a lot of. I mean, I love Paradise Lost, and that, the
Mm,
Odyssey, obviously, but yeah, I don't read a
yeah.
lot of epic poetry all that much.
There's not a lot out there. I mean, there are not many
Like, who
people
does epic
writing it.
poetry anymore?
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I mean, I waffle on, and I probably could keep waffling on, but
Yeah, I was about
I'm
to say
aware that your
I'm probably
grandma's
going
trying to get in touch with you.
to do some other things this evening, but this has been a
Yeah.
lot of fun. I've really enjoyed hanging out for a bit.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on the show, and it's yeah, it's always nice like being able to chat to people who you've seen on YouTube.
Hmm.
Yeah, and also just like on social media, we're all these kind of little heads, little like buttons and stuff like that.
It's
And
like, oh,
it's
look,
nice.
you're in the
Yeah.
flesh,
Yeah.
kind of, because we're talking through screens, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like 50% more real than I was earlier.
Yeah. I always hear jokes from friends of mine about like, oh, maybe I'm just AI. Oh, and I'm just like, all right,
Mm.
that's not funny anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Let's not go there.
No, but yeah, it's but thank you though. I appreciate you coming on here and giving some of your time.
Yeah,
Um,
not a problem.
but
All right.
before you go, if you have any social media, feel free to share.
Well, because my surname is unusual, if you just type it into Google, you will find me wherever I am. But X, I'm still on there, Twitter, whatever it may be called. That's where I have been most of the time. But I recently got onto Instagram, so I'm sort of there a little bit. I tried going on Blue Sky, but it doesn't seem. I never seem to find anyone on there that like in my feed that I even know. So I haven't. I very rarely check that. So I would say X and Instagram.
All right then. Well, hopefully you
Yeah.
guys enjoyed this conversation, and well, I don't really have much more else to say, so see you guys later. Bye
All right. See ya. Bye.
bye.